Good morning. The May 4th, 2022 meeting of the Board of Estimates is now called to order. The board will continue to meet in this hybrid format. For those here live, please remember to take the opportunity to turn off your cell phones, put them on silent or at minimum vibrate. For those who are attending virtually, please keep yourself on mute until you are recognized by the board. At this time, I would like to ask our clerk, Ms. Celeste Amato, for any corrections, additions, or noted abstentions to today's agenda. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. This morning, we have the following changes and corrections and other items for the agenda. There are no specific changes or corrections, and at this time, there are no protests because we've had a number of deferrals that have deferred the protests as well. On page 7 through 9, Department of Public Works, change order number 2 and transfer of funds with Metra Industries, Inc. for project number WC 1403, Urgent Needs Water Infrastructure Rehabilitation and Improvements Phase 2 FY20. That item is being deferred at the request of the Comptroller. Page 48 through 49, Bureau of Procurement, contract number B5000 5154, citywide violation towing services. That item is being deferred at the request of the Comptroller. Page 52 through 53, item number 4, Bureau of Procurement, contract number B5000 5017, background investigation with Kentech Consulting Incorporated. That item is being deferred at the request of the Comptroller. Page 72 through 73, Bureau of Procurement, solicitation number B5000 6315, Energy Consulting. That item is being withdrawn at the request of the Chief of Procurement. Page 141 through 142, Department of Housing and Community Development, lease extension, Redwood Apartments air parcel. This item is being deferred at the request of the Comptroller. Page 151, item number 1, Bureau of Procurement, B5000 6380, decals and striping for vehicles and equipment. That item is being withdrawn at the request of the Chief Procurement Officer. And page 153 through 154, items number 8 and number 9, WC 1410, Urgent Need Water Infrastructure Rehabilitation and Improvements, Phase 1, FY21. This item is being deferred at the request of the Director of Public Works. The following items are on the non-routine agenda this morning, pages 1 through 6, Department of Public Works and Finance, water, sewer, and stormwater utility rates. This morning, we will be making, the board will be approving the proposed hearing date of June 15th. Page 20, Department of Audits, Biennial Performance Audit of Department of Finance, FY22 and 2019. And on page 45, Law Department Settlement Agreement. Moving to the routine is page 153, item number 7, Department of Public Works, SC 938, Headworks Facilities Improvements at PWWTP. This item that will be a rejection of all bids. We have the following abstentions. The Honorable Mayor Brandon Scott, page 35. Item number 3, Health Department, the Johns Hopkins University. The Honorable President Nick Mosby, page number 24. Item number, City Council Travel Request. The Honorable Bill Henry has no abstentions. City Solicitor James Shea has no abstentions. Director of Public Works, Jason Mitchell, has no abstentions. And Honorable President, that concludes my business for this morning.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve and adopt the opening statement read by the clerk.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The opening statement is now adopted. At this time, I'll ask the board to turn its attention to 2 items that are published in the non-routine agenda. These items are page 153 through 154, number 8 and number 9, Department of Public Works, WC 1410, Urgent Need Water Infrastructure Rehabilitation and Improvements, Phase 1, Fiscal Year 2021. For this item, DPW has again requested to defer the award until a later meeting. At this point, I'm going to say that deferral is indefinite, knowing the legal proceedings. So we don't have to kind of go through this process every single meeting. Again, since this item has been deferred already, our new regulations require that any subsequent request be approved by the board. I'm asking that we do it indefinitely. So when we hear about this item again, it'll be time for us to make the appropriate action with that. If we're okay with that, all those in favor, at this point, I need to take a motion. If we take a motion to defer this indefinitely, it's been moved and probably seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item will be deferred indefinitely. I'd now like to direct the board's attention to a memorandum from my office dated May 4th, 2022, identifying matters to be considered as routine agenda items together with any corrections, additions, abstentions, and no votes that have been noted by the comptroller. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve all items contained on this routine agenda.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and probably seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The routine agendas are now adopted. The first item on the non-routine agenda can be found on pages 1 through 6. Number 1, Department of Public Works and Department of Finance, water, sewer, stormwater utility rates. For the benefit of the public, I want to make it clear that the board is not approving the proposed utility rates today at this meeting. We're opening the public up for comment for this period and setting a future date for a public hearing on this matter. On that note, I would like to recognize the Department of Public Works to explain the proposed rate increase. Deputy Director Garbach or Mr. Aaron Moore, I believe. How are you doing, Deputy Director Garbach? The floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Controller, honorable members of the Board of Estimates. I'm Matt Garbach, Deputy Director for the Department of Public Works. Before the board today is a notice of proposed rate increases to water, wastewater, and stormwater rates, as well as a request that the board hold a public hearing on the rates on June 15, 2022. We're very excited to propose the lowest rate increases in the last 25 years. Rather than an over 9% increase that we've had, we are proposing 3% increases for water and stormwater rates and a 3.5% increase for wastewater for each of the next 3 years. In total, the increase over 3 years will be less than just 1 year of the most recent set of increases. I should also mention that these rates are far less than the current rate of inflation. DPW's Chief Financial Officer, Aaron Moore, will go into more details on a financial analysis and the assumptions that have led us to this decision and the positive work that we've done. Mayor Scott made it clear that he wanted meaningful and comprehensive change in our water billing process. Director Mitchell has made water billing reform his top priority and initiated a comprehensive customer turnaround initiative. As we have reported a few months ago to this board, this initiative is divided into 4 different components: metering, billing, customer service, and revenue management. We started this effort with metering and billing because these are the first and most essential components to ensure that utilities are financially sound and stable. If meters are not functioning properly, bills are either inconsistent or they're incorrect. If bills are inconsistently issued or they are incorrect, there is little to no chance that they'll be paid. We made tremendous progress on this initiative since formally beginning last September. We've reduced the overall backlog of meter repair work orders from over 7,600 last May to just over 800. This is a 91% decrease. Our meter reading rate has increased and remained at over 99.6%. Last month, we achieved 99.9%, which is the highest rate we've ever achieved. This also resulted in a record number of bills being sent out on time. In addition, we've also fixed, overhauled, or rebuilt nearly 1,000 large meters, which generate significant revenue and which are nearly all commercial. In terms of billing, we've sustained increases in billed revenue, and we've also seen increases in payments and collected revenue. Not only are we generating bills timely, we are correcting and resolving old accounts and disputes. From a customer service experience perspective, we are in the process of adding customer satisfaction surveys to our phone system and email system, as well as using new software for email management that provides us with key metrics on customer interactions and disputes. We have also invested in comprehensive training for all customer care analysts, and we have a team working on expanding and enlarging and enhancing our billing portal. Finally, to help manage revenue consistency, Two items were just passed by this board a few moments ago. One is the Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program, which is administered by the State Department of Human Services. Under this agreement, low-income customers with arrearages are eligible for up to $2,000 to pay off their balance. The other item is an agreement with Promise Network. Under this agreement, Promise Network will help us manage our payment plans, providing convenient access to payment options and personalized customer interaction for those customers. We believe that these two initiatives will help in reducing past due bills and balances and increasing adherence to our payment plan terms. This preserves our revenue stream and it helps us with overall administration and planning. These are just a few of the details of this very positive initiative, and it has helped guide us to such a remarkable place today. With your approval, Mr. President, I would like to ask DPW CFO Aaron Moore to provide additional information on their financial analysis and assumptions.
Thank you, Deputy Director Garbach. Mr. Moore, the floor is yours.
Members of the board, as Matt so brilliantly described, going to go through a few slides with you all today and overview how we got to these new rates. So there will be a presentation on the screen beginning, and I'll cover a few things. Basically, a quick overview, what the proposed rates are, as Matt described, our approach, go into a little bit of the detail, and then from that, highlight some of the things that will be in the next budget coming up. So largely, DPW is transforming the way it does business.
Hold on one second. We're attempting to put up the presentation. You have a formal presentation.
Yes. Actually, our staff is having technical difficulties
Yeah.
as we move to this.
What's his name, Matt? Who has it? Matt? Garrett Hallback, are you on? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I believe I'm sharing my screen right now.
We do not see it. We see you denoted as the presenter, though. Maybe can you try to unshare and then share again?
Yes, sir.
That's working now. Here we go. All right. Mr. Moore, the floor is yours.
Thanks, sir. So, as I mentioned, DPW is transforming the way it does business. Matt has previously described the transformation initiative that we're going under right now, which will help modernize payment systems, provide additional data and analytics support, automate processes, and also help us improve our processes in customer service as well, too. There are over 20 projects that are being conducted simultaneously to help make these improvements. It will increase revenue. And this initiative was also presented to the board on February 8th and is foundational to this rate proposal. On the next slide, you'll see the proposed rates. I definitely won't bury the lead there, as Matt has mentioned. Water will be 3%, along with stormwater, and sewer wastewater will be 3.5%. This will result in an incremental increase to a typical customer bill. On the next slide, I really want to pause a little bit on these rates and what this means to the city and to the agency and to the residents, our ratepayers. It is the lowest since 1998, which we have in the chart presented in the slideshow. It is lower than inflation. It will be lower over the next 3 years than it was last year alone. And it will be an incremental increase. And what we're seeing is that it may be even lower for some folks, that increase, because of efficiencies in appliances and fixtures. This is truly a pivotal moment that we are at as a utility. In that chart, you'll see rates as high as 19%, and we've consistently been above 9%. So I just want to say now, as we move into this, what is our approach to this? How do we get to this proposal? On the next slide, you'll see 5 things, 5 objectives that we consider when we came to this result. So one is our expenses, ensuring that we are funding our operating and maintenance costs and anticipated increases. Looking at our debt, ensuring that we're meeting our proposed obligations, in addition to maintaining important and critical metrics. Investing in our infrastructure is also critical as we have an established system that requires continuous investment. Affordability is also, of course, important to us, and equity as well, too, as we look at that metric. And last but not least, of course, we don't only want to think about now, but we also want to look towards the future as well, too. In the next two slides, I'll dive into slightly more detail, but it will provide important context. Some of the key assumptions that we have made that have been major factors are some of the things that can be easily quantified, if you will. We know that prices are rising for key supplies. We want to continue to make investments, not only in infrastructure, but in ourselves, the fleet, facilities, technology, and our people. And that's going to be important, especially as we continue to support the turnaround initiative that is showing the positive results. On the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about the things that can't be easily quantified. These are, if you will, the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns. Some of the things that we're looking at, again, of course, is prices are rising. Inflation is not transitory. The cost to borrow, construction costs, and supplies are all up. But there's also persistent pressure on the global supply chain. But as you know, we've come to a great conclusion, even though there are other unanticipated shocks and crises and events that we cannot predict. But there's good news on the next slide. And that's where I want to talk about where this money will go. All else being equal, we project to return to pay-go contributions with a mid-year transfer. In addition to that, we're investing in a new capital project management system along with other city agencies. And most importantly, we're looking at our customers and how we contribute to our community. So one, we're going to continue to support the SOS program, the cleanup program for capacity-related wet weather events. The fiscal 2023 budget will also fully fund the Water Accountability and Equity Act and all its provisions, including the customer assistance programs and the Office of the Customer Advocate. And also what we're really excited about is a new investment in enhanced career mentorship programs that will provide pathways for young adults to join the water industry. In conclusion, I just want to say that turnaround initiative, we are incredibly excited about that. We have put forth a plan today, along with the Department of Finance, that is sustainable, fiscally prudent, and grounded in economic data. We will continue to invest in our system, and we will continue to fund this turnaround initiative that is showing great results. Overall, we're really excited about this plan, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Just a couple quick questions on the presentation. What's the definition of typical customer bill? Is that average bill, median bill? What does that mean?
Yeah, typical bill is really a metric that we use, a 6 CCFs, that really describes an average consumption, if you will. Not necessarily an average, but a general consumption level. It's an industry standard. But, you know, not to go into too much detail, we're looking at moving towards more of a 5 CCF because we've seen a lot of efficiency and decreased usage. So appliances are more efficient, you know, your dishwashers, things like that. But 6 CCF is a general. Yeah.
Garrett, could you go back to that slide? Gotcha. So you're saying that this is based off of industry standard of 6 CCF, and I guess the standard is moving towards 5 because of energy efficiency of appliances, right?
That's correct.
Understood. So is this specific to Baltimore City or?
No, we use that. We work with, of course, some consultants as well, too, and we use comparisons across cities using that standard metric of 6 CCF.
What would be, would you know, like, what would be consistent with like average or median here in Baltimore City?
We could pull that information from our UMAX system for Baltimore City residents and
Gotcha.
report that.
If we could do that, particularly on like these presentations and at the public meeting, because I think that that is more relevant to folks consuming and understanding what the proposed rate hike is.
Absolutely.
I think the thing is when we talk about like sustainable and sustainability, and we're talking about a rate increase, you show the slide, Garrett, if you could go forward, where we saw the consecutive years of increase. I think it goes all the way back to like 98. I guess we skipped 99, we skipped 2001. but pretty much is almost every year there's been an increase. Is there a way from a financial perspective that we could develop modeling to understand, you know, when we get ahead of not expecting an increase year after year? I realize that this is the lowest that we've had since 98, but we also know that our citizens are going to be faced with inflation that's going to ultimately be passed on to them, particularly our working class and folks that are already kind of struggling with their bills. Is there a way from a financial perspective that you're developing some level of modeling where we know that we're not just going to come back every year, and whether it's 3%, 4%, 5%, there's not going to be additional rate increases, or in the likelihood that's kind of like an indefinite kind of solution or approach to handling our wastewater issues?
That is the direction we're headed in. We currently do long-term projections. In addition to that, we're also looking at, through the turnaround initiative, bringing in additional analytics and information, but also as their turnaround initiative increases revenues, improves processes, and lowers expenses, we're going to evaluate that and look at that over the long term as well and see what those effects will do. In addition to that, over the past couple of years, the city has taken advantage of a number of opportunities, including low-cost WIFIA funding that has saved the city over $100 million over 30 years. That number comes from our underwriters. In addition to that, we do bond refunding transactions, or which we would call refinancing in general terms, that have also lowered expenses over time as well, too. So those are the things that we've taken significant advantage of in the past, combined with the turnaround initiative, and also continue to do our long-term projections. We're looking forward to that.
So in lieu of those items, I guess the increase would be significantly higher. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Understood. With that projection, is that something that we plan on reporting out? Is there a schedule to like develop that projection? What's the expectation for, I guess, this board, the council, the citizens, the administration kind of understand and know when we get to better understanding those projections?
Absolutely. We can provide a summary of that as well that will highlight all the details of the projection. In addition, there will be, of course, information in the budget book showing the next year's budget that we project, including the revenue and contributions.
No, I guess what I'm understanding is there a way, and maybe there's not, but is there a way for us to know that in 2 years, in 3 years, that's going to be the last increase that we can see based off of the information that we have in front of us? Or is this kind of an indefinite thing that year after year, we are going to see increases on our water bill?
Putting my finance hat on,
Yeah.
I want to see the results of this turnaround initiative that we're seeing that are promising right now, and be very prudent and conservative and say that I expect good results, but we will not be returning to the high increases of the past. That I can say.
I appreciate that. Just definitely interested in keeping the board aware that, again, my only concern is it's great that we lowered the inflation, but inflation is like 4x of what it was 2 years ago, right? I know it's the lowest since 1998, but the fact is we've been passing on increases since 1998. And that compounding effect that it has on particularly our working class and lower wage employers throughout the city who are trying to keep up with not just their water bill, but all the other bill increases, just somewhat is problematic. So as the city is trying to budget, individuals and citizens need to budget as well. And, coming back, whether it's 3, 4, 5% year after year, just, becomes a problem. And then last but not least, and I appreciate you don't have the information today. We'd love to kind of work with you and talk to you offline. But our large capital projects, just really trying to look at an annual perspective of the projected amount, like what we expect to pay in the construction costs versus what they ultimately come out as from an actualized perspective. We'd love to sit down and kind of go over those numbers with you.
Absolutely. We have a great CIP program that has a lot of information, and we're happy to review that with you.
Thank you so much, sir. At this point, are there any additional questions or concerns from members of the board? At this point, I'll turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. For me, I guess just quickly, Aaron, thank you, and thank you, Deputy Director, and thank you, Director, for heeding the direction and getting us to this point, which I think is historic. But you guys know me; I don't want better; I want the best. So we'll get to that point as we move forward. Just for the record, Aaron, we know that the rate is lower than inflation. I think it's important for us to say what the inflation number is this year.
It's about 8%.
Approaching 9, right?
Yeah. And then moving forward, talking about this work, how much, if you had to say from a percentage wise, the work that you guys did about making sure that things were, the meters, the bills and things were being paid, how much of an impact did that actual, I guess, accounting or that work have on the ability to have this particular rate increase?
Of course, I want to be very judicious because we are still seeing those results, but I can say that year over year, we're looking at significant high single-digit increases from the work, particularly the large meters and commercial meters that are bringing additional revenue into the system.
That we weren't capturing before. Do you know? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Looked at some preliminary numbers yesterday, and I won't give any specific numbers. I know he'll hit me if I do. But one of the really positive things that we saw and are seeing at this point, the payments and collected revenues are outpacing our increased billings almost 2-to-1. So that means that we are fixing old disputes, we are fixing issues and getting old past due monies in, and that's increasing almost double what we're actually billing in our increase.
And so I'm gonna ask a obvious question. Do we know why we weren't collecting these bills or from folks for so long?
What we are finding, a lot of these disputes have lingered and languished for a long time. They get to some level of complexity that sort of all communications have broken down. We're finding that quite a bit, especially in our larger accounts. And it just sort of reaches a stalemate, and there's no impetus or oversight until now that has really driven that and tried to reach some level of solution. The other issue is we are finding, especially on our large accounts, that the coordination needed in some of our industrial and commercial areas just never got done to go in and fix it. Because you got to shut down operations, you got to coordinate with the plant staff or factory staff, and then you actually have to go and rebuild some of these large meters. That coordination and upfront planning is occurring, and we're being able to get huge accounts back online. I'm talking accounts that are tremendous amounts of money each month, and these customers are very happy to be back in and paying their bills.
And just out of curiosity, Deputy Director, what can you tell me the length or the longest one that you remember of dispute, or what year did it begin?
As what I've seen some 5-year ones, and that is back to when this new system was deployed, which means it could be back even further than that.
Thank you. And Mr. Moore, based on your responses to the council president, we all know that you were trained by one Bob Sinema, so we appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Beard.
Mr. President,
Well, yes.
one other thing I should add, I believe it is a year to the day that Director Mitchell has come on board.
Oh, wow.
I honestly think it is. So you can see all the progress that has been made in a year. So just wanted to say that on behalf of DPW
Well, thank you,
employees.
Deputy. And Director, welcome a year later. It feels like 10 years later, right?
It feels good.
The one thing I got excited about during the presentation is you approached it, we're approaching Six Sigma. I think you said 99.99% a rate. Could we kind of go into that a little further?
Sure. So as you know, 2016, we deployed new meters, and it's called smart meters. That's not the actual term. It's meters that send their signal wirelessly. In Baltimore County, they are picked up by a mobile vehicle that travels and collects it. In Baltimore City, we invested in fixed infrastructure that collects it mobilely. What one of our major metrics is how many of those meters are actually sending the signal, how many of them are collecting. We have nearly 200,000 of those meters in Baltimore City, and there was always a number of meters that were not sending a signal. That could be as simple as, honestly, a car parked over or a planter placed on the meter so the signal couldn't get through, to wire being cut on the transmitter, to the meter actually not having some sort of issue that's even been transmitting. So that indicates to us, this metric, that the meters are all sending signals. And for us, if a meter is sending a signal, the system is automatically designed to throw out and flag anomalies. So one of the reasons why issues weren't getting resolved was they were never being put in the system and resolved. So the system was not able to then flag errant bills, high consumption, leaks, any of that. So by fixing that, we're using the system that we purchased, and it's quite an expensive system, to start flagging these things and to start putting them out there so that we can address them and get the customers their information to fix them quickly.
Thank you. And last question, I know that you said that some of our industrial and larger consumer-based customers are happy to be back online, or at least approaching that level of being online. Are they equally, you allow us to recoup maybe some lost revenue in the past? Is there a plan for us to try to recoup any money, or is the idea for us to just move forward based off of whatever corrections we're putting in place?
So the good thing about these meters and the investment, and this is the good thing that we've made this investment up front so we can actually make some progress on this, is they record everything that's been used per year, by day, each and every day. So when we fix them, the meters are, we go and the meters are working properly. It's the transmitter, it's the connection. We hook it up, we can get that read, we can generate everything going back however many years.
And I would assume that right now, I don't know if there's been a decision, but right now, I guess the natural assumption is that just like a residential consumer, the idea is for the city to recoup the funds that have been lost based off of the lack of the communication being transmitted.
Yes, but those are all there. So
Information.
all the information's there so we can bill, and we actually have it in the system so it bills the appropriate rate at which year it was consumed.
Ms. Comptroller?
Thank you. I just have a couple questions. One of them prompted by one of the president's first questions. I've seen some complaints on social media about how much people are paying for their water bill now compared to what they paid 25 years ago. As somebody who remembers paying water bills 25 years ago but doesn't remember the exact amount, would you be able to pull us a historical average from like 97 for what were the average, in the same way that you were giving the president what the sort of an average bill is now? Could we get an average bill from 1997 broken down into water and wastewater?
Certainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second question is, can I get some numbers for now and going forward for the next couple of years that you've projected, for the receipts, the revenue you're expecting from water, wastewater, and stormwater, but then I'd like to see the expenses broken down into current operations, like actually paying for the system expenses each year, deferred maintenance, if you've put a separate aside money separately to go back and deal with what I think we all recognize to be a, 10 digits? 10 digits of deferred maintenance. How much is going to debt service to pay for the maintenance we've already done or are expecting to do? And then the fourth category would be how much we're putting aside into fund balance or cash reserves or whatever you want to call it to make sure that the overall system is financially stable.
Yes, we have that information. Typically, the way we break it down, of course, is revenue and then operating and maintenance expenditures. And then there is a separate category for debt expenses. And then following that, we can give you a bottom line number.
Okay, and so the amount pulled out for fund balance counts, is that a separate thing, or is that going to be wrapped into one of those first three?
We can wrap that into the projections.
Okay, I don't want it wrapped in. I want it broken out so I can see them separately. Okay, yeah, that would be great. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Comptroller?
Yep, thank you very much.
Are there any other additional questions or concerns from the board? Hearing and seeing none, I don't believe we need to vote on this. I think we could just put this report as noted, right?
We're voting on the hearing, public hearing.
Do we have a public hearing date?
Yeah.
All right, could you tell the
Yes, thank you. DPW is requesting a public hearing on these rates during the June 15th, 2022 Board of Estimates meeting at 9 a.m.
So with that, is there a motion?
Yeah, I move that we establish the date as June 15th, 2022.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded regarding the date for a public facing meeting of the Board of Estimates on DPW water sewer utility rate increase. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. Mr. Garbar, I'm sorry, real quick, if you could just, for the record, communicate to the public that date that we just approved.
Yes, so the public hearing will be on June 15th, 2022 at 9 a.m. And the request is to be during the normal board meeting in this room.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
At this time, our next item on non-routine agenda can be found on page 20, Department of Audit's Biennial Performance Audit of the Department of Finance for fiscal year 2020 and 2019. The board is requested to note receipt of the audit report at this time. I'll turn the floor over to our amazing auditor, Mr. Josh Pass, and his team to walk us through their audit findings. Mr. Auditor, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Comptroller, and honorable board members. My name is Josh Pash, and I'm the city auditor. I'm here to present the biennial performance audit of the Department of Finance. Slide, please. For the objective and scope, our one finding, and the implementation status of prior findings. Next slide, please. Our objective was to evaluate whether the city of Baltimore has effective policies, procedures, and processes to pay vendors not later than the date specified in the contract, or if no date is specified, 30 calendar days from the receipt date of a proper invoice. We also did follow up on findings and recommendations from the previous audit. The fiscal years covered are fiscal years 2020 and 2019. The invoice payment process for operational procurements is what we covered. Procurement process through credit cards and EAs were excluded from our audit. Typically, or always, when you pay via credit card, the amount is paid immediately, so there's no need to count how many days till payment. Next slide. The audit methodology we use is we judgmentally selected five major agencies based on the highest percentage of outstanding invoices as of September 26, 2021. And we looked at the recommendations by the Bureau of Accounting and Payroll Services, the Baltimore City Health Department, Baltimore BSIT, Baltimore City Rec and Parks, Department of General Services, and Department of Finance, and Department of Public Works. And we interviewed individuals from all those agencies and reviewed applicable policies and procedures and relevant sections of the city charter, city code, and city admin manual. And then we analyzed the Department of Finance and the five major agencies' outstanding invoices as of November 12th, 2021. Next slide, please. Our finding was that the city's accounts payable process needs improvement for accuracy, continuity, efficiency, and effectiveness. We noted that Bureau of Accounting and BAPS does not have formal written and approved policies and procedures for the accounts payable process. Basically, it is done by everyone's kind of done their procedures, and the people who have experience, they know what they're doing. There is a general flow chart of the invoice payment process for operational procurements. We also noted that BAP's current practice of tracking timeless invoice payments does not align with the admin manual, which says the payment of city's obligations requirement performance. In the budget book, annual book, says that the count of the 30 days begins when the invoice is received. However, the Department of Finance is counting them once they are entered into Core Integrator. Next slide. As we note on the bottom, this Core Integrator is the workflow management and documentary repository system for finance. So we did note Department of Finance is monitoring timeless invoice payments. However, we did note significant issues during our test. Of the 5,253 invoices outstanding, excluding EAs and Core Integrator, 3,611 required Department of Finance to determine whether payment should be processed or assigned to the respective agency resolution. Basically, when the invoice comes in, it is logged into the system, and Department of Finance reviews and determines if everything matches up and aligns and the payment goes out, or if they have to do follow-up. 2,986 invoices, or 83%, were outstanding for 8 days or more, which means that they were still in Department of Finance's bucket. We noted that 245 invoices were awaiting other actions by Department of Finance. 1,397 invoices were assigned to agencies for further review. Of those, 74% were outstanding for more than 31 days after receipt of proper invoice. So after 31 days after it was received by the city, 36% were outstanding for more than 31 days after the invoices were assigned to the agencies for investigation. Next slide, please. The major causes that we identified during our audit was change orders. Those are needed because insufficient funds. So when the invoice comes in and it's ready to pay, there is not money in the budget or the vendor contract expired, and therefore they have to go back and reopen that contract or the purchase order. So when looking into this, we noted that there are certain purchase orders or contracts where you have multiple agencies using that, and the communication with those agencies is not strong. So there is sometimes an expectation of the agency that money's on there, but it was actually spent by another agency. We also noted unauthorized justification purchases. This is when a contract or purchase order is closed out and it's liquidated before the final invoice comes in. So when they go to pay the invoice, there's no open purchase order or contract to pay it against. We also noticed that the vendor performs services without valid POs. So that is when we get an invoice, but there's no open purchase order to charge it against. We also ran into some instances where the vendor invoiced services for good, but the purchases were set up with the subcontractors. So we have an agreement and the prime will bill it, but the subcontractor has the agreement. And therefore, there's a mismatch between the invoice who is billing us and who we have an agreement with. We also noted there was issues for invoices. So to be paid quickly, once it comes to the Department of Finance, they basically have to match up every criteria. So there is a control where purchase orders are set up with certain amounts of the purchase order for releases. And the purchase order and release has to be on the invoice. And oftentimes that release will be closed out and a new one will be open, and the purchase order will have the old one on it, causing a delay. There's also been instances of incorrect department reference, so that doesn't match, incorrect rates, incorrect amounts, and incorrect delivery supplies. So basically for Department of Finance to run it through smoothly, everything has to match between what the requisitions say, what the receipt says, and what the invoice says. We did notice that the first two bullets are caused by control weaknesses in the city's procurement process. So that includes checking budgetary authority, checking contract to bill balance, and monitoring contract terms and expiration dates. So next slide. So speaking of Department of Finance, they did note that they implemented a new control as of May of 2021, where they began monthly meetings with agencies to discuss and resolve aging invoices. We were unable to evaluate the effectiveness of these processes because we did not get the information to evaluate. Next slide, please. Our recommendations was to automate and streamline the accounts payable process. Implement formal policies and procedures, which will help with continuity and change of personnel, and to update the annual budget book metric so that it is consistent with how they're actually measuring it, or to change how they're measuring it. And it goes into the AM says we count the 30 days when the invoice comes in, and Finance's budget book metric counts the days from when it's entered into the core integrated system. We also recommended working with agencies to analyze and identify common issues of payment delays so that they can be addressed proactively. We recommended working with agencies and Bureau of Procurement to identify solutions to minimize the change orders. This goes back to those causes that related to the procurement and the open contract or the open PO had an issue, and they had to go and adjust that before paying the invoice. And then we also recommended analyzing and summarizing the invoice issues, which was the last bullet of caused by vendors, to assess if there are preemptive training, publication, communication to vendors so that we can reduce those. And I just want to summarize the process of accounts payable. So the city has set up an email mailbox for vendors to submit their invoice. When the invoice comes in, they're taken out from the mailbox and they're run through a optical character reader. And then they're manually put into Core Integrator. And then they are matched up with what else is in our different procurement systems. And if they don't match, then communication to the vendor or the agency is initiated. And so there is a lot of manual processes in this, in the procedure. Next step. Oh, that's it. Okay, implementation of prior findings. There were 4 prior findings. We noted 2 were implemented. We noted 1 was partially implemented and 1 was not implemented. I would like to thank the audit team and the agency personnel for making this audit possible and helping us get through it. And I am open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Auditor. At this time, are there any questions from members of the board?
I actually do have 2 questions for the audits before we go to finance.
Yep. So, Mr. Comptroller, the floor is yours.
The first one is, can you give a little bit more detail on the prior findings that were the 2 that were, the one that was partially implemented and the one that was not implemented?
Okay. The one that was partially implemented was a budget book metric, and it also, part of the resolution was Workday was going to solve it. So we noticed that they were addressing the budget book part, but Workday hasn't been implemented, and so that wasn't addressed. The second was with surplus property, and the response was that that was planned to be corrected through Workday, which is a future date.
Gotcha. Okay. And the second one was there were 2 instances in your report that stated that BAPS wasn't responsive. And could you discuss what type of effects that had on you and your team's efforts to complete the audit?
Okay, so the one item not response was reviewing the controls implemented in May of 21, which was those monthly meetings. And basically our goal of audit is to identify deficiencies, weaknesses, control weaknesses. And so we want to give credit to the agency of any controls they have in place, but we can't make an assessment unless we get information. So we were unable to obtain minutes to meetings to see what was covered and how that was being covered. And therefore we couldn't make an assessment or give any credit for that control.
Okay. Other than that, I just wanted to thank you and your team for all the work that you put into this audit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Comptroller. Any other questions, comments from the board? Hearing, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Auditor. We might call you back up. At this point, we'll hear from the Department of Finance, Director Henry Raymond. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Controller, honorable members of the board. I'm Henry Raymond, Director of Finance. First, I'd like to thank the Department of Audits for their efforts in conducting this particular performance audit. As Mr. Pash has indicated, this is a lot of complex subject matter as it relates to the processes. Generally, the Finance Department is in agreement and concurs with the information that's provided. Particularly, we concur with the recommendations, and we are incorporating them as part of the Workday financial implementation. As Mr. Pash was indicating, some of the issues related to control deficiencies or weaknesses with the city's present procurement system. And that is that the present system does not provide very good information regarding contract or purchase order, beginning balances, present available balance, when the contract or purchase order was initiated, or the termination date. So this causes problems for agency staff in trying to determine how much was approved, how much is left, do we need to de-obligate it, liquidate it, which results in contracts and purchase orders being de-obligated while an invoice may be outstanding. Perhaps an invoice has not actually been submitted yet. So in other words, the purchase order, the contract has $1,000 left on it. They close it out, then an invoice comes in for any amount. there's a delay because now that purchase order has to be reopened in order to pay the bill. Now, Workday will resolve this. Part of the issue, as Mr. Pash described, is there are a lot of manual processes involved, and there's two systems: City Buy system, which is for procurement, and City Dynamics, which is the accounting system. Lots of this contract and procurement information are flowing between systems. With Workday, it will be a single unified system where the accounting system and the procurement system are all co-located in the same application. So the transfer of information will be seamless, and it will be much more transparent to obtain the purchase order, the begin date, end date, authorization amount that was approved, the available balance, and all of the payment transactions. So if you started at 100,000, it's 50,000, it's an easy drill down to see what were the payment dates of that other 50,000. So in reference to invoice processing, as I indicated, it'll be very transparent. And because of the way Workday is configured, everybody will know where every invoice is every step of the way. So the invoice comes in, it's optically read. When the vendors submit the invoices into the accounts payable email address, there's a system to electronically scan and read the invoices so that we know what agency it's for, the dollar amount, the purchase order, based on the fields of information that have to be on the invoice. So the point is that in Workday, we will know when the invoice came in, which is a feature that does not presently exist. As Mr. Pash was indicating, the issue with the budget book and when the 30 days starts is because the present system doesn't have a field for when the invoice was received. The start date begins when it's been accepted into Core Integrator, but that invoice may have been submitted a week or more. So in Workday, we will know specifically when did that invoice arrive, when did it go through the OCR process and available for processing. The real point of this is we will know every step of the way where that invoice is. Is it sitting with the agency, awaiting some action? Is it sitting in Core Integrator, awaiting action? Is it in an accounts payable person's inbox, pending processing? So everyone will know every step of the way, what is the status? That will increase accountability over the accounts payable process. The ultimate goal of this is to pay our business partners in a more timely manner and impose the accountability if or when we see that there are backlogs or delays that are preventing us from achieving the 30-day invoice payment processing. And I think that concludes my remarks. Again, we concur with the Department of the four primary recommendations, and they are being addressed with the Workday implementation.
Thank you, Director Raymond. I have one quick question. Is there ever a time where the vendor is slacking on their end and the city has assumed that the project has been completed, it's moved on, it's closed out, and then we get invoices for old work? I would assume that even with Workday implementation, that wouldn't necessarily cure that problem. But more importantly, that is probably an issue that would also fit inside this audit that no one from the city could project out. Is that a problem, or am I just They have false
I won't
assumptions.
characterize it as a problem. I'll say it is a challenge that we work with the vendors on. Uh, for, in some cases, and I'm not really going to try to repeat what the city auditor has said. But for example, we get handwritten invoices. Because they're handwritten, they can't be scanned into the core integrator using the optical character recognition system, the OCR. Other times, we get invoices that reference the wrong purchase order. We get invoices that are incorrect dollar amount based on incorrect quantities. You know, you order 1,000 widgets, $1 a piece, the invoice should be 1,000. The vendor says that they supplied 1,100, which would make it $1,100, you know, at $1 a piece. The purchase order was only 1,000. That requires going back to the vendor to reconcile it. We didn't get 1,100 widgets. We got 1,000. You need to send us a credit memo or send us a revised invoice. So, and the accounts payable team works with the vendors on those types of issues. But yes, that does occur. And we want to work hand in hand with the vendor community because by elimination of those types of issues, our resources can be better spent on the actual processing as opposed to, you know, spending the time to have to correct these issues. But, and the reason we do that though is because we want to get the vendors paid as quickly as possible. We can get those issues resolved.
Understood. Thank you. At this time, I'll turn the floor over to the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Director. I guess for me, it's a simple thing. We know there's an issue. As we all know, we're working to reform our outdated procurement system. But for this one in particular, this portion of it is one that's really important because we often know what this means for some of our small women and minority-owned businesses in the city who can't afford, for whatever reason, be it a handwritten document or some outdated system, to not afford to get paid on time. Talk to us about how soon that workday switchover is going to happen so that we can have a greater time sense of when we're going to see this much needed and deep change for our business partners.
Yeah, thank you for the question. We're scheduled to go live with Workday July the 1st of 22. So we're in the final stages, the last 2 months of configuration of Workday, the testing of Workday, training agency staff, the development of what we refer to as job aids. These are essentially procedure documents that show you how to do each function. So we're going live July 1. We'll have a dedicated help desk for vendors to call in. And the goal would be that the backlog in getting within the 30-day policy should be by next fall, once the workday we go live and it's stabilized.
It's
Yes, sir.
a follow-up question. Have we thought about, as we went through some other workday changes before, have we thought about even a small group of folks who we know submit invoices consistently to the city, having them work with you guys through a test run of how things go through so that we can catch any things that may happen so that we can prevent in any way possible as when we're implementing new systems, any kind of things that are unexpected that will push that delay out even further.
What the plan is to test the new system with invoices that have been submitted between now and June 30. Invoices that we receive from vendors, we're going to push them to ensure that the outcome is as expected. So in other words, if we push through 30 bills for $1 million, we expect the output to be 30 payments totaling $1 million. If there's any discrepancies, then we know that we have a configuration issue. So what we'll do is we push them through the current system, push them through Workday in a test environment. We call it sandbox, and we have to achieve the same output. Once we have the same output, then we know that Workday is configured properly and is processing appropriately.
Understood.
Thank you. I'm done, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other questions or concerns, Ms. Comptroller? Floor is yours.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The management response from Department of Finance for the Audit Department's report outlines the implementation plan for corrective action beginning July 1. That's the same point that we're scheduled to have the Workday integration go online for this.
Correct.
The audit is technically for fiscal years 19 and 20. So a lot of the stuff they were looking at was stuff in the past. Just wanted to check in and see, were there any steps that finance already took since fiscal year 20 leading up to July 1 that would have impacted the results of the audit?
I think probably the primary thing is, as Mr. Pash indicated, in May 2021, under the leadership of the city administrator, we started having monthly meetings with the agencies on late invoice payments. And we created a procurement payment dashboard that would be circulated to all of the agencies for review and comment. The purpose of the meetings was to try to determine what barriers are we experiencing with prompt invoice payment. We looked at it by agency. We also looked at it by vendor, pretty much sorting the vendors from highest to lowest to figure out, you know, whoever's high, why is it so high? What do we need to do to bring it down? Through these meetings, we received input from agencies. There was a lot of collaboration. We even had a summit with the agencies. It proved to be effective. I've been able to bring late invoice payments down. As was noted in the audit, the auditor wasn't able to assess that because we didn't take meeting notes.
Okay.
But since that time, we have started to have a scribe to take the actionable items from each meeting.
So so that information will be available in the future.
Yes, but I could give it to you now for, say, the past few meetings, yeah, including the dashboard, which essentially is it's a spreadsheet, but I guess it's like, it's a link. You go to the link and it opens up. We can provide that. In addition to that, we've been working on AM policy 303-3, because essentially 30-3 obsolete as it relates to Workday because we're doing business process in a different manner. So we're in the process of rewriting the relevant AM policies to conform with the way we do business in Workday, which is to take advantage of best business practices.
You mentioned setting up a help desk for vendors as part of Workday going online. The mayor mentioned the idea of putting together a focus group of vendors to help you refine practices, which is a great idea. We were wondering if finance already does or plans to provide any training for vendors on how to do invoicing in order to ensure faster payment.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, no. I mean, I'm just like when you're saying that you sometimes you get handwritten invoices. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. I was yeah, it's like at some point, I'd like to think that the city is consciously and proactively telling people, we want to pay you, but dude, you got to type it. So what other types of training do we already provide or will we?
Well, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's all right.
We will be providing training to the vendor community as it relates to the rollout of Workday so that they understand how to access the new system, how to submit invoices, the key elements that invoices have to contain to avoid some of the challenges that we presently have.
And the last question I have, which is the one some of our folks at home are probably most interested in the answer to, if you're a vendor who believes that they have an outstanding invoice, who should you contact to address it?
I would say contact my office, my email address, which is on the city website. And my phone number is 410-396-4940.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm
No.
sorry. I just want, in closing, I wanted to say, and the reason I'm providing my information is because if there's a problem, I want to know
Right.
about it so that I can direct the staff to resolve it.
And you're always extremely responsive when it comes to those issues. Just so, a point of clarification, for the vendors, there's no requirement for them to get any end-user software. They just basically go through the city's portal and utilize our enterprise license. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
want to make sure.
no cost.
No cost to the
any
vendor. They just utilize the portal that the city's setting up, and we're going to provide them training on that.
Correct.
Okay. Are there any other questions, concerns from members of this board? Hearing and seeing none, I will just note this audit as noted. Thank you so much, Mr. Auditor and your team, as well as to you, Finance and DPW.
Thank you.
The next item on the non-routine agenda can be found on page 45, Department of Law Settlement Agreement and Release. This is a settlement in the amount of $40,000 to Mr. Keon Jr. Mr. Joyner alleged he suffered physical, mental, emotional injury after a Baltimore City police officer body slammed him to the ground. On behalf of the Law Department, we have Mr. Justin Conroy to walk us through the settlement. Mr. Conroy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. This is a settlement that is being put forth while litigation is pending. The facts of the agreement are noted in the memo. We believe that Mr. Joyner's injuries, though not substantial, are significant enough to warrant settlement. And we believe that resolving this prior to further litigation is in everyone's best interest, brings closure to Mr. Joyner, brings closure to this incident, and allows the city to avoid the uncertainties of litigation and a jury trial.
Ms. Conroy, at this point, can you walk us through some of
Sure.
the events that took place on the date and the incident that's related to the settlement?
Absolutely, sir. So this was an incident that took place up at the 4100 block of Falls Road. There was an incident involving a group of youths that were alleged to have, one of which was alleged to have a weapon, a gun, inside of a McDonald's. A citizen called 911 to report this, and so police officers were dispatched to the location. The group left the McDonald's by the time the officers were there and were walking down the street. So the officers detained the group, specifically looking for an individual in a red cap, which was the description provided by the citizen. While in the process of detaining that person in order to perform a search to determine whether or not he had a weapon, the plaintiff in this case sprung out of the crowd and appeared, inches from the officer's face, brandishing an object. He said that the object was a cell phone, and in fact, it was a cell phone. And he said, "I'm filming you." The officer, because it was such a quick, sudden movement and it was so close to his face, didn't know what the object was and pushed him away. And there was a scuffle, at which point Mr. Joyner was taken to the ground. So the officer's version, which is also believable was that this person appeared right in front of his face with an object, and that's without dispute. Mr. Joyner's version is that the object was a camera, it was a cell phone, and the officer should have known that it was a cell phone because he said, "I'm filming this." It happened very quickly. But as soon as Mr. Joyner was taken to the ground, he was attended to, he was taken to Union Memorial for examination. And so everything was done properly throughout the course of this.
Was Mr. Joyner arrested?
I believe Mr. Joyner was released without being arrested. There was a full investigation into the incident, and there were numerous witnesses, including the group. Mr. Joyner was part of the group of the youths. They were a school group, and there was a monitor there as well. So there were plenty of people that were on scene for all of this.
But Mr. Joyner is a juvenile?
He was a juvenile at the time, yes.
Well, last question. Do you have a figure for year-to-date amount of settlements that the city's paid out on behalf of Baltimore City Police actions?
I don't have a figure in front of me or in my head. I know that there are certainly separate kinds of buckets of settlements, those that smack of this kind of conduct. Then there are employment decisions, which I don't believe we have settled any to date and been successful on several. So I don't have a number in my head right now on of that reporting, no.
And I just was speaking with the mayor, so I think there is a list that I think we talked about, put out there a couple of weeks ago.
I think that's right, sir, yeah.
Under the leadership of City Solicitor Shea.
Yeah.
So I'll go look at that. But thank you so much. At this point, are there any additional questions or concerns from any members of the board? Hearing and seeing none at this point, I'll take a motion.
Move approval of the settlement.
Second. It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. Thank you so much, Mr. Conroy. As there's no new business before the desk of the board, are there any comments, questions that folks would like to raise before we adjourn? Hearing and seeing none, we will adjourn at this point. The board's next meeting will be held on Wednesday, May the 11th at 9 a.m. The purpose of that meeting is to consider approval of the preliminary budget. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Estimates will occur on Wednesday, May the 18th at 9 a.m. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. I'd like to thank everyone for coming in person. Baltimore, we absolutely love you. Please stay safe.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have the distinct pleasure of being joined by our comptroller this afternoon for bid opening. Apologize for getting started just a few minutes late, and we're joined by our team that spends a great deal of time organizing and getting this ready on about a bi-weekly basis. So welcome, Mr. Comptroller.
It's so wonderful to be back. I'm sorry
So great
running
to
a little
have you
late. I
back.
couldn't remember how to get here. Took me a couple tries.
It's really far. So what we have been doing, because we're now recording bids real time, is the bids have been organized and prepped so that the comptroller will be reading the information out loud. I'll call for the information, Bill, and then you just read it to me, and I record it real time whilst you are reading the results. And then I often will read them back, especially the dollar amount, to make sure that we have that right. We are actually joined by 2 live audience members today. These folks are not staff.
Hello.
Very exciting. That hardly ever happens for us these days. And welcome everyone out there who's watching TV 25 today for our bid openings. We have 13 bids today, and we are starting with a bid for the Department of Public Works. That is contract number SC1002R, and the contract name is Cleaning and Inspection of Sanitary Sewers in Baltimore City, citywide.
Yeah. Okay, so,
And the first bidder.
all right, do I need to use this sheet at all?
Actually, you can, no, you really
Yeah,
don't. You
right,
can
okay.
go through just the bids one by one, because they won't all be on the sheet, because some bids come in late and we don't get the chance to record them.
Okay. All right, let's see.
So we've been recording, Bill, the bidder, the address, the bid amount, and then in some cases we'll have bid bonds. So I believe for this one, we should be seeing a bid bond.
Right, okay. So the bidder is Mobile Dredging and Video Pipe Incorporated at 11420 Old Baltimore Pike, Beltsville, Maryland,
Slightly slower. 11420,
11420 Old Baltimore Pike, Beltsville, Maryland, 20705.
got it. And the bid amount.
And this, I think there is a bid bond. Yes, there is a bid bond. And the bid is total bid of $3,711,975.00.
And that number was $3,711,975.00.
That is correct.
I'll give out just the digits for folks who are trying to pay careful attention to this. That's 3,711,
Do these have to be bound back up? Okay.
975.00, and that bidder was Mobile Dredging and Video Pipe Incorporated.
Yep. And then the next bid from Spinello at 3500 East Biddle Street, 21213. And with a bid bond and a total bid of $4,330,000 and no cents.
That was 4,330,000.00.
Correct.
Okay, that bidder was Spinello, and the bid amount was $4,330,000.00. Bill, do we have an original and copies with that one?
Beg pardon?
Or is there an original and multiple copies? Thank you. Audrey will yell that at me, so I record it. Because we track it on the sheets.
Okay.
Next bidder.
That was the only bids for
just
those,
two.
those two for.
Okay, so we had two bidders, Mobile Dredging and Video Pipe, Inc., and Spinello. Our next bid is another item for Department of Public Works, and that's contract number WC1372, water infrastructure replacements at various locations. Apologies for the constant background noise. It's a little distracting. And the first bidder, Mr. Comptroller.
The first bidder is R.E. Harrington Plumbing and Heating Company. And their address is 300 West 23rd Street, 21211, with a bid bond and a, that's some large print there. Okay, and a total bid of $7,817,000 and no cents.
That number was 7,817,000.00.
That is correct.
That bidder was R.E. Harrington Plumbing and Heating, $7,817,000.00.
All right, the next bidder is Metra Industries at 50 Muller Place, Little Falls, New Jersey, 07424. With a bid bond and with a total bid of $8,829,150 and no cents.
That number was 8,829,150.00. That bidder was Metra Industries, $8,829,150. And our next bidder.
The next bidder is Spinello at 3500 East Biddle Street, 21213. with a bid bond and a total bid of $11,203,300 and no cents.
That number was 11,203,300.00.
Correct.
And that bid was from Spinello, $11,203,300.
All right. Ooh, gotta be careful with this one. Okay, the next is from Anchor Construction Corporation with an address of 2254 25th Place, Northeast, Washington, D.C., 20018.
And is there a bond?
Not marked as such. Let me see if it's. You want to check that one? You check that one, I'll check this one. Audrey's looking through the duplicate.
Okay.
Is it? Okay. On page 222. Is that the original or is that the copy? No, I mean the bond though. Is the bond still a dupe? Okay. There we go. 222. Actually, I think you might have the original because I have a blank here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there is a bid bond, and the total bid is $12,482,270 and no cents.
That number was 12,482,270.00.
Correct.
Anchor Construction Corp., $12,482,270.
All right.
Was that it for that one? Any more bidders?
two
for
more.
that? Oh, okay. Didn't mean to rush.
All right, the next is from Civil Construction LLC with an address of 2413 Schuster Drive, Hyattsville, Maryland, 20781. With a bid bond and with a total bid of $8,910,950 and 0 cents.
That number was 8,910,950.00.
Correct.
That was Civil Construction, $8,910,950.
So I think this leaves Monumental. It is. All right, the next one is from the final bid for this contract is from Monumental Paving and Excavating Incorporated at 1815 Edison Highway, 21213. With a bid bond and with a total bid of $9,730,690 and no cents.
That number was 9,730,690.00.
Yep.
Monumental Paving and Excavating was the final bidder, $9,730,690.
This one should be a little bit faster.
Just a tiny bit.
Okay.
Our next bid is the Bureau of Procurement. The contract number is B5000-6252. Contract name, Occupational Health Clinic Services, and this is a price proposal.
This is a price proposal, so I will just be reading the names of the bidders, which in this case is only Mercy Medical Center Business and Employee Health Services, at 345 St. Paul Place, 21202.
That was Mercy Medical Center Business and Services.
I believe you.
And that was our sole bidder.
Mhm.
Thank you. Our next bid is for the Bureau of Procurement, contract number B5000-6404. Contract name is Driver Motor Vehicle Information Services.
Yeah, right. So the one and only bidder is Law Enforcement Systems LLC. Address 633 West Wisconsin Avenue, Suite 1600, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53203. It does not appear to require a bid bond.
Does not.
And the total of basic services is $105,000.
That number was 105,000.00.
Correct.
Law Enforcement Systems LLC, and that was our only bidder.
Yep.
Okay. Our next bid is for the Bureau of Procurement. Contract number B5000-6423. Contract name is Food Service Management Company for Summer Food Services.
Okay, we have, again, one bid for this from Martins Incorporated at 6821 Dogwood Road, Baltimore, Maryland 21244. It includes a bid bond, and the amount is $2,235,000 and no cents.
That number was 2,235,000.00.
Correct.
And that was Martin's Inc., $2,235,000.
Thank you.
Next up,
Okay.
for the Bureau of Procurement, contract number B5000-6494, debris removal, litter, etc. Nope,
Did you say?
yeah.
Big one, 6.
Okay, I might have these out of sequence because we added a few bids late. I have it out of sequence. Sorry. Regrouping. I have it, it's just in the wrong place, that's all.
The cake is a lie.
Hold, please, while I get myself together.
You are playing with Portal.
Sorry, I did not make my page for this one.
That's okay. I can take a moment and play the same game I was playing during the meeting earlier, where I tried to discern some type of melodic pattern from the work outside.
There is no pattern to it. If only there was a pattern. Okay, so this is B5000-6455.
Correct. Medicare Advantage plans with prescription drug benefits.
Yes. I'm ready.
Okay, so these are price proposals. So all I'll be reading are the names and addresses of the bidders.
Correct.
One is Aetna Life Insurance Company. And they are located at 151 Farming. Hold on, I'm going to check and see if this is a typo. Yes, 151 Farmington Avenue, Hartford, Connecticut, 06066.
Okay.
And the second bid is from Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield, located at 10455 Mill Run Circle, Owings Mills, Maryland, 21117.
Any others?
Nope.
So we had 2 bids on this item, Aetna Life Insurance Company and Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield. And give me just a moment, because I
Sure.
know I'm missing a page for the next one as well. My bad.
Oh, I was like, yeah, but I was looking for the other
This is
2.
another- That's why I know I don't have it. This is also a price proposal, and this is for contract B5000-6476, Pharmacy Benefit Management Services.
These are also price proposals, so I'll only be reading the name of the bidder and their address. The first bid is from Elixir RX Solutions at 7835 Freedom Avenue, Northwest. North Canton, Ohio, 44720.
44720?
Yeah.
Got it.
The second bidder is Optum RX CA134.
CA134.
And they are located at 2300 Main Street, Irvine, California, 92614.
Any others?
And one more last, but by all means not least. Caremark PCS Health LLC.
Is that all one word, lowercase?
Caremark PCS is all one word, but PCS is all capitals. And I think they might be doing business as CVS Health. And they are located at 2215 Sanders Road, Northbrook, Illinois, 60062.
You said that was DBA, CVS Health.
CVS Health.
So let me repeat those 3 bidders for our listening audience. Elixir RX Solutions, Optum RX, CA134, and Caremark PCS, doing business as CVS Health. And now let me wind my way back to our other bids.
We're finally getting to the debris removal.
I hope so.
I know I was
They're the
excited.
best ones. Okay. So back to Bureau of Procurement. Contract number B5000-6494, contract name debris removal, litter, etc., from waterways and shoreline areas.
It's also known as Professor Waterwheel's Little Helpers. Okay.
Yes.
We have 2 bids. The first is from Demo USA Incorporated. I don't see a bid bond.
This one did not necessarily require one.
Good. With a total bid of $357,791.25.
That is very precise.
Very.
That number was 357,791.25.
Yep.
And that was Demo USA
Demo,
Inc.
correct.
Did you have an address for that, Bill?
Oh, I'm sorry. 10860 Spring Knoll Drive. That's Spring Knoll Drive. Potomac, Maryland, 20854.
Okay. That was Demo USA, Inc., $357,791.25.
Correct. That number once again. All right. And then the second and final bidder is Environmental Quality Resources, located at 1 Churchview Road, and Churchview is all one word, Millersville, Maryland, 21108.
21108.
Yep.
And the bid amount.
All right, public access. Sorry, I'm making sure I'm reading from the public access copy and not the contains proprietary information copy.
Please.
All right. A total bid of $505,488.00.
That number was 505,488.00.
Correct.
Environmental Quality Resources, $505,488. And that was our final bid for that item.
Yes.
Got it.
But don't worry, we have more.
Wait, there is always more. The Bureau of Procurement, contract number B5000-6543. This is for Bobcat equipment, OEM parts, services, maintenance, and warranty.
I'm sure that someday they'll be their own department, but not yet.
Perhaps.
Okay, the first bidder is Metro Bobcat Incorporated, with a total bid amount of $50,950.00.
$50,950.00. That number was 50,950.00. Metro Bobcat.
And I didn't do their address, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Their address is 11,000 Pulaski Highway. For those of you who didn't realize that Pulaski Highway went out to the 11,000 block. That is White Marsh, Maryland, 21162. All right, and then the second and final bidder is TEK Equipment Repair. And they are located at, all right, so I have a discrepancy between the address written on this page and the address on this form. So I think I'm going to go by this. And the address they have listed is 200 West 21st Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21211, with a total bid amount of $215,250.00.
That number was 215,200.00.
I'm sorry, say that again?
215,200.
I'm sorry, it's 215,250.00.
Okay, let me repeat that back to be sure. 215,250.00.
Correct.
So that was tech equipment repair, $215,250. And I think Brenda was trying to tell me that I didn't read the contract number for this one. Right? Is that what you were trying to tell me?
I thought you said something else.
Oh.
I wasn't looking at your screen.
Oh, I have on my sheet. That was contract number B5000-6543.
34.
Oh, you have 34.
I have
I did say it wrong,
B5000-6534 Bobcat Equipment OEM parts, service, maintenance, and warranty.
My bad. I had a typo on my sheet. Sorry, my sheet, not Brenda's sheet, my sheet. Sorry about that. That was B5000-6534 to be super clear for folks who are trying to track this. And our next bid, Bureau of Procurement.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, next,
Are you ready?
yeah.
B5000-6546. Contract name is Technical Services for Liquid Oxygen Plant.
Yeah, apparently the vendor community also shrugged their shoulders because we have no bids received.
We did not receive any bids for this item.
I wasn't even aware we had a liquid oxygen plant that required maintenance.
Well, we're in trouble because we did not receive any bids. No bids received for contract number B5000-6546, Technical Services for Liquid Oxygen Plant. That does sound serious, though.
Okay,
Our next item, our next bid is the Bureau of Procurement, contract number B5000-6556. Contract name is Supply and Deliver Firefighting Equipment, and in parens, nozzles. It's important to be specific.
it's important to be specific. The first bid is from Prospectus Enterprises Incorporated, and they are located at 12203 Mount Pleasant Drive, and that's in Laurel, Maryland, 20708. There does not appear to be a bid bond, but
And there
we
was
do.
none required for
We
this.
do have a total bid price of $327,825.00.
That number was 327,825.00. Yeah. That was Prospectus Enterprises, Inc., $327,825.
The second and final bidder is Atlantic Emergency Solutions, located at, again, I have a discrepancy with what's on the sheet and what's on the letter. Let's see what they put in here. Okay, well, their letter and their letterhead are different, so that's its own issue. The address is 12351 Randolph Ridge Lane, Manassas, Virginia, 20109.
Is Manassas M.A.?
Manassas.
Thank you.
Manassas. Ding. Sorry, I've really missed being a judge at the spelling bee for the last 2 years. Yeah. The total bid price is $212,995.80.
Let me repeat that back. 212,995.80.
That is correct.
That was Atlantic Emergency Solutions, $212,995.80. Was that our final bidder for that?
That was our final bidder.
That was our final bidder for contract number B5000-6556, Supply and Deliver Firefighting Equipment. Up next, Bureau of Procurement, contract number B5000-6607, 3/4-ton super crew cab 4x4 pickup. We have to make it fun.
I'm sorry. I keep hearing that in a different voice in my head. I'm trying to remember the name of the comedian
Our auto sales voiceover.
who did the Canyon Man voice. This is actually a good idea. They put the flash key through in a little pouch and looped the.
That is smart.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes we just find those rolling around in the bottom of envelopes.
Okay, so the first and only bidder is Pacifico Ford Incorporated, located at 6701 Essington, excuse me, let me try that again. 6701 Essington Avenue, and that's Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19153.
19153.
Correct.
And the bid amount.
The bid amount is $87,347.00.
That is a very nice Super Crew.
That's one 4x4.
Yeah.
Okay.
That bid amount was 87,347.00, and
Yep.
that was for Pacifico Ford Inc., $87,347.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, wow, okay.
And up next is the Bureau of Procurement again, contract number B50006609, transit cargo van.
Okay. Once again, we have our first, last, and only bidder for the transit cargo van is, again, Pacifico Ford Incorporated, still located at 6701 Essington Avenue, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19153.
And the bid amount.
And the bid amount is, you may be interested to know that a transit cargo van is definitely cheaper than a super cab 4x4. The bid amount is $77,126.00. And that is for 2 cargo vans.
Oh,
Yeah, right?
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That bid amount was 77,126.00, and that was a bid from our only bidder, Pacifico Ford Incorporated, $77,126. And that was for contract number B50006609. And I believe, and Brenda will tell me if I'm wrong, that was our last bid for today.
And now that we're there, the rostrum is bare.
It is. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today for bid opening. As usual, we have been recording these bids real time, and they will be posted to our website by close of business today, if not sooner. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Comptroller, for being our reader today.
Always a pleasure.